What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the CombatCast. So today I'm going to do a recap of the landmark event BKFC Thailand 5 Legends of Siam, which was headlined by the Bare Knuckle Special Thai Rules fight between Buakaw and Saenchai. However, I will be talking little about that. What actually intrigues me the most are the fights that came before the main event. That was actually the highlight of the event for me. So in total, there were 12 fights, all bare knuckle boxing fights at the event. And in my opinion, I thought the preliminary fights, in which there were 3, were probably the best fights of BKFC Thailand 5. I would dare say they were the highlights of the event. In fact, it was one of the fights in the prelims that earned a fight of the night bonus, which I will get to. But yeah, anyways, I'm just gonna go through a quick recap of each of the fights and how they ended. So first fight on the card was a fight between, shall we say, the Fight Club Thailand veterans Maseng and Tamba. Now, it was a fight between 2 Thai guys with a lot of character. These guys really know how to promote themselves. They've been on the, shall we say, street fight scene. But, they've, their fights are available on YouTube. And as I understand it, Tamba had previously defeated Maseng under Muay Thai rules. And Maseng was looking to avenge his loss against Tamba under bare knuckle rules, and the fight was action packed. And Maseng was Tamba was like baiting Maseng into throwing punches, even though his eye was busted open. Like, I swear the doctor could have stopped the fight at any moment. He was like baiting Maseng to throw his best shot. Also, Tamba was also landing his own shots, which eventually busted Maseng open. But yeah, eventually Tamba was the more aggressive fighter, and Tamba won the fight by split decision. And in the second fight, we had Mike Vitrilla, a BKFC Thailand veteran, going up against Island Waikoko of the Philippines. Now, I previously said Mike Vitrilla displayed bad form in his last BKFC fight against Luis Paulo Terra, but in this fight, he had significantly improved his boxing form, the way he threw punches, it was like he was more calculated. And yeah, sure, you could say he was fighting a smaller guy in Alan Waikoko. When I interviewed Alan Waikoko, he said he was fighting above his natural weight class. But still, I give Mike Vitrilla credit with the improvements he's made in his game. He's even scored a knockdown. There were many points in the fight where Vitrilla appeared to almost finish Waikoko, but Alan Waikoko just held on, and I applaud Waikoko for that. But in the end, Mike Vitrilla went on to win the fight by unanimous decision. And the third fight of the night, this one, in my opinion, was the highlight of the night. And yeah, no one can change my mind about that. So, Pongpisan Chunyong, who I now have found that his ring name competing in Muay Thai is Kom Krabi Luk Thap Pha. He's fought on the Channel 8 Muay Thai shows. And Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tat Pin Yu, the Myanmar Lethwei fighter, and also a sporting hero in his native Myanmar, as I've heard. According to one of the Myanmar employees who were working at the event, she also helped work as a translator when I was interviewing Tat Pin Yu. Now, unfortunately, the audio was lost for my interview with Tat Pin Yu, but nevertheless, I would just want to take this quick moment to thank Pinam, who was the Myanmar translator, for interpreting Tat Pin Yu's interview for me. Pinam kap, ขอบคุณมากครับ. But yeah, Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tat Pin Yu was everything I had hoped it to be and more, you know. Pongpisan Chunyong, I understand it, had also competed in Lethwei, hence why he had so many draws on his fight record. And Tapin Yu has only like strictly competed in Lethwei. And when, you know, the fight started, it was like punches being thrown and virtually zero defense, you know. The only defense being shown was probably Pongpisan Chunyong moving out of the way and Tapin Yu using his face to block punches. And like, I remember watching the fight on replay on YouTube. Fubo Sports was airing the full event live. And it read after the 4 rounds, the two had combined for over 500 strikes thrown. So that says a lot about how much action was in this fight. It was crazy, you know? Yeah, Pongpisan Chunyong scored 1 knockdown at the beginning of the round, and like, I thought, wow, is this gonna be over like early? But like, no, man, like, yeah, sure, Pongpisan Chunyong was definitely the more aggressive fighter, but the craziest thing was Pongpisan Chunyong was throwing his best shots, landing on Tapin Yu's face, but Tapin Yu was like, he was like, is this the best you've got? And he just kept coming forward, marching forward. And he also landed some good shots. His signature move was probably the hooks to the body, which I've seen him use while I was working in Thai fight. And yeah, like, neither fighter went down. And like, they were just throwing hands for the entirety of 5 rounds. And it was crazy. And this is where I'm going to make a statement right now. And it's probably going to rile up some fans who watch BKFC, the American version. And I dare say, this fight, Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tapin Yu, is arguably the best fight in all of BKFC history since it was founded in 2018, including Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight, including Taylor Starling versus Charissa Sigala, including Eddie Alvarez versus Chad Mendez. Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tapin Yu trumps them all. And yeah, and I don't care if you disagree with me. No, but yeah, it was, and I feel totally blessed to have watched that fight live in real time, because it was also a display of, you know, Muay Thai versus Lethwei, so to speak. Yeah, even though it was bare knuckle boxing rules, but to me, it showed the toughness and grit of the Myanmar Lethwei fighters. And it also showed you the fighting spirit of both Thai Muay Thai fighters and Burmese Lethwei fighters. It was packed into one fight under a completely different rule set that was foreign to both Thailand and Myanmar. And that fight, you know, I will never get tired watching it, you know? Ever since coming back from Pattaya, where the event was held, I think I've rewatched that fight 4 times. And yeah, and that number's just gonna keep on going up. But anyway, enough about that. So, 4th fight of the night was Jomil Miyato versus Gustav Sederholm. So these two guys were coming off of knockout victories at BKFC Asia 4, but you know, I was kind of worried for Jomil Miyato, because he is Jeremy Miyato's brother, who I'm close with Jeremy Miyato. When I went to Maroc Gym, Jeremy Miyato was one of the first fighters who I got close with. Jeremy Miyato held pads for me. He trained me, you know, mostly in striking and stuff. But yeah, so I found myself rooting for Jomil Miyato, and I don't know. I guess it was just like the fact that Gustav Sederholm had competed on a platform like King of the Streets. I just had the assumption that, oh my gosh, this does not bode well for Jomil Miyato. But in fact, the fight played out differently, and Jomil Miyato scored a knockdown before knocking out Gustav Sederholm. Man, that guy is good. Like I mean, that guy meaning Miyato. And man, that guy has good knockout power, and it was crazy. I got up from my seat and I cheered. The same way I also got up from my seat to give a standing ovation to Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tapin Yu, and you see, there I am. I'm circling back to the 3rd fight of the night. No, but yeah, I got up from my seat to cheer for Jomil Miyato. I never actually spoke with him before. I've only spoken to his brother multiple times, because I'm close with his brother, Jeremy. But yeah, I wish Joe Miyamoto the best. He has a very bright future in BKFC, whether it's Thailand. I hope one day they give him a chance and fly him out to the US to compete on their American shows. Yeah, but time will tell. Now, next one. Chalerm Porn Sawatsuk, aka Kontolai, versus Johnny Tello. Now, in my previous video, I mentioned that Kontolai was supposed to face Kaivan Soleimani, but Soleimani withdrew from the fight due to paperwork, and he was replaced like last minute by Johnny Tello. And when I interviewed Kontolai, he was very honest. He told me like, I'm just gonna keep this fight safe, and if I win on points, that's fine by me. And you know, Kontolai looked to like be dominating the fight for 4 rounds. He even scored a knockdown on Johnny Tello in the 4th round, and I thought, okay, he's got this in the bag. What's the worst that could happen, right? And the worst that happened, Johnny Tello mounted a comeback. He just came forward blitzing, just raining punches, and he ended up knocking out Kontolai in the 5th and final round, and I was just gutted. I had my head down. I looked like this, basically, at my table, and there was a German fellow at my table, sitting next to me, and Ty Emery, who was my friend at the event, and he asked me like, the guy who lost, did you bet on him? And I was like, no man, he's just a friend. I mean, if I had bet on Kontolai, yeah, I'd probably also be upset, but no. Unfortunately, I don't know how to bet. Well, fortunately, I don't know how to bet, so I didn't lose any money on that fight, or any other fight for that matter. But yeah, it was just so heartbreaking because, you know, I just thought Kontolai, who I also interviewed in person, you know, he was a very nice guy, yeah, truly great guy with like the greatest comeback story. And, you know, I was rooting for him, and to see him lose in the last round, it was just so heartbreaking. And that's why I just had my head down. And yes, I probably looked like someone who bet on him and lost money on him. But yeah, but I hope he comes back stronger and better. Hats off to Johnny Tello, I guess. And then yes, on to the, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6th fight of the night. Purya Rokne versus Johan Marin. So Purya Rokne, as I said before, Purya Rokne is an acclaimed boxing coach. He used to coach boxing at the Marok gym before the fight team was disbanded. He now trains at Muay Thai Academy, where he still coaches boxing. And, you know, I've always heard good stories about Purya. You know, he's been able to turn everyone into a good boxing machine. He's helped coach several former Marok fighters at previous BKFC events, and at BKFC Thailand 5, he made his own bare knuckle debut. And another funny incident was the German man at my table. You know, he saw Purya's build and he's like, "Whoa, this guy's a fighter? His body, he looks just like me." And I couldn't help but laugh because Johan Marin was the complete opposite. He was ripped, he was shredded, you know? I wouldn't be surprised if he was on some gear. But yeah, but the fight, man, it went as I expected, you know. Purya displayed crisp boxing, slick head movement, all that boxing jazz, and he knocked down Johan Marin, I don't know how many times, 3, 4, 5 times. And Johan Marin just had this gimmick where he was like, he looked like he was out, but then he popped right back up, you know, like Terminator robot style. But then I think on the last knockdown, he was trying to do that pop back up gimmick, but then like he fell right back down. So yeah, and Purya won the fight by knockout. And man, so that just goes to show like everything Purya's students have said about them is true. And yeah, so I am actually considering going to take some boxing classes from Purya Rokne, see what tricks I can learn from him. Yeah. And next up, Andrew Miller versus Tirawat Wong-on. So Andrew Miller, former One Championship Muay Thai fighter, also appeared on Channel 8 Muay Thai shows. So when I interviewed Andrew, he said that Tirawat used to be his training partner a couple years back, and like Tirawat basically had no boxing skills. He was a Muay Thai fighter mostly, and when I saw Tirawat in person, I was like, wow, this guy is old. This guy looks... He was like skinny, very lanky. Looked like he hadn't been in a high-profile fight in a long time. So, yeah, at that moment, and this was during the press conference pre-event day, I just knew right away, like, Andrew Miller's probably going to win this. And true enough, Andrew Miller scored the first round knockout. He landed a punch to the temple, and Tirawat just went down. And yeah, he won by first round knockout. And onwards, we have Daniel Dora versus Tofan Pirani. I interviewed both guys. Very nice. They were the biggest guys in the card, but man, they were just pleasant guys to be around. I still remember on the press conference day, all the fighters were rehydrating after weigh-ins, and I was just like chasing down fighters for interviews. I just finished interviewing Andrew Miller, it was, and I looked around and I didn't see any fighters nearby. I saw Daniel Dora. He was still eating out of a bowl, but like I just had to ask, and I was like, I remember saying, is this a good time or a bad time? And he just looks up from his bowl and is like, bad time. But he didn't mean it like annoyingly, but it was like, bad time, but I'll get to you later. And then I get back to him later. He's done eating, and he's like, okay, now is a good time. And then I talked to Tofan Pirani also before weigh-ins and stuff, and I was like, hey, Tofan Pirani, right? You used to do K1, because I saw clips of him when BKFC Thailand was doing promos about the Daniel Dora versus Tofan Pirani fight. I was like, you used to do K1, right? And he's like, yeah, man, I used to fight like all the heavyweights. And he mentions all these big names who fought in the K1 World Grand Prix, and I was like, man, that is so cool. But he's a nice guy, and I was like, yeah, so I'm gonna have to ask you some questions. And he was like, don't worry about it. I punched the last guy who asked me stupid questions. Very funny guy. Both of them funny guys, very likable, and it was one of those fights I didn't want to see either guy lose. But now, unfortunately, Tofan Pirani lost the fight at the end of the first round, because he suffered a finger injury, a hand injury, where he was unable to bend. I think it was his thumb. It was like one of his ligaments got messed up. Now, yeah, it was sad. Daniel Dora even came up. I saw Daniel Dora after the fight. I went up to him and said, hey, congratulations, man. And he just said, like, man, it's one way. I don't want to win that way, And I totally understand him. Now, TJ Chang versus Christoph Kirsch. Now, of course, I was expecting my man Christoph Kirsch to win the fight, but several questionable fouls were committed, which affected TJ's ability to fight, shall we say. He was taken down in the clinch, and he hit his head, which was very unfortunate. But in the end, Christoph knocked him out clean. And yeah, it was a good performance by Christoph. And I don't even think Christoph was like putting in 100% effort. And but yeah, man, I hope Christoph, gets another fight and he scores a clean, decisive knockout victory. Like, no asterisks, no question marks. Now, in one of the co-main events, we have a BKFC Thailand featherweight title fight between Frankie Siharat and Saransi Uambu. Now, I remember Saransi Uambu didn't make weight for weigh-ins in time, for the allotted time, and he had to forfeit 30% of his purse to Frankie Siharat. Now, I interviewed Frankie Siharat, and he was a nice guy. Secretly, I found myself wanting him to win. Now, I'm probably biased because I didn't get the chance to interview Saran, because he was busy cutting weight and all that jazz. But yeah, he was a nice guy. And in the first 2 rounds, Saran was actually outlanding Frankie. He was ahead on the scorecards. Now, eventually Frankie just found an opening and he landed a mean hook that just I think it connected behind the ear, and Saran Uambu just went down, and he he couldn't, he was on wobbly legs. He couldn't get back in time to answer the count. So Frankie won by knockout to become the new BKFC Thailand featherweight champion. So yeah, congratulations to Frankie. Now, in the co-main event of the night, you had Fani Palumpi defending her BKFC Thailand strawweight title against Po Denman. Now, in past installments, I have made it clear that I'm not a fan of fighters named Denman. I want to make it clear, though, that I'm not a fan of the Denman camp and their management. However, upon interviewing Po Denman, I've found that she's a very sweet girl, and I wish her the best in her future fights. I'm still not a fan of the Team Denman or Peter Denman, for that matter. But still. When I interviewed Po Denman, she was a very nice girl. I asked her if we wanted to do our interview in Thai and English, and she said, we can do English, but my English is a bit slow. But when we actually did the interview in English, it was fine. There was no slowness to her English. So, I was wondering, bare knuckle fighting, it's not boxing, it's not Muay Thai, it's not MMA. I'm curious, how did you make adjustments in your training, for a bare knuckle fight?
For me, it's not totally a different sport from boxing. So I see bare knuckle boxing very similar to boxing. The techniques, the defense, it just without gloves. And in bare knuckle boxing, you can also have some inside fighting.
Like the clinch?
Yeah, like the clinch. You can clinch with one arm, and then you can punch. You can do things inside that boxing really doesn't allow you to do that.
Right.
So for me, I don't feel so different. It's just I have to be more cautious. Yeah.
And it went smoothly. And when I interviewed Fani Palumpi, who's Greek, it went well. English is not her first language, and I remember this particular moment when I asked her about how the fight will play out. I was like, "What is your prediction for this fight?" And she was like, "What is prediction?" And I was like, "What do you think the result will be?" And then she was like, there was this awkward silence for a bit, and then she just improvises. She pulls out her phone from her fanny pack, and we do have a phone, and she opens Google Translate, and she's like, speak. And I saw it, and it was English to Greek translate dictation. So I spoke, and I repeated my question: "What's your prediction for this fight?" It was it's just one of those moments where I enjoy doing what I do. But and she was like, "Of course, I'm gonna win this fight. I'm gonna keep my belt." That being said, do you have a prediction for your fight tomorrow with Po?
What is prediction?
Prediction. What do you like? The result.
We have phone, so we can translate. Sorry. You speak.
Okay. Do you have a prediction for tomorrow's fight? I just translated to Greek.
Oh yes. Of course. I will be the winner. I am here for defend my title, and I don't want to lose this title for sure. This belt is mine.
I love it. Oh, and Fanny let me hold her title belt, which was very nice of her. Thank you very much, Fanny. Khop khap. Hey everybody, so guess what? The BKFC Thailand strawweight champion herself, Fani Palumpi. Fani, you can just wave hi, has just let me try hold her BKFC Thailand belt, and it feels so hefty. And it feels so good. It's awesome. I can imagine being a champion. Oh my God, this feels so unreal. It feels so unreal. Okay, I'm having a complete fanboy, fangirl moment right now. Doesn't even matter. Fani Palumpi just let me try her belt. I love this belt. It makes me wish I could become a bare knuckle fighter and win a belt, which I probably know is probably never gonna happen, but hey, one can dream, right? Yeah! Okay, thank you so much. And when I watched the fight, I noticed Po Denman has unusually long arms for for a fighter in her weight class, which she knows how to utilize effectively. She makes fighters in her weight class look just ridiculous, just look all over the place. Her reach advantage, I think, will be the equalizer in her fights. You know, she may not be the hardest puncher, she may not be the most aggressive, but she is a good defensive fighter. She's good at evading, she's good at blocking. Her long arms are just, they make her look like she's on another level. And so yeah, Po Denman won the fight by unanimous decision, and she won rightfully so, and she became the new BKFC Thailand strawweight championship. So congratulations, Po Denman. And for Fani Palumpi, live to fight another day. But yeah, and then you had Buakaw versus Saenchai in a special rules bare knuckle Thai fight. I mean, of course, there was a lot of speculation on whether this was a real or a fake fight. It was a real fight, you know. But I mean, did they give it their 100%? No, of course not. These two are friends. But yeah, you know, but like, they don't want to, you know, they're in their 40s. They don't want to hurt each other, give each other like a long-term or a lifelong injury. So they just went probably 50-60%. And but they did give a Muay Thai masterclass for those watching. You know, we got to saw the knees, the elbows, the clinch. We did even see some sweeps, even though they were not allowed in bare knuckle Thai rules. But for me, the purest side of me didn't want to see this fight because they were old and they were friends. But the side of me that wanted to see things burn, it was fulfilled. And ultimately, look, the good news is, one, no one left with any bad injuries, permanent injuries. No one got knocked out seriously. And two, both fighters left with a big fat paycheck. And, you know, I guess both guys were the winners, even though Buakaw won the fight by unanimous decision. And yeah, my prediction was wrong. You know, I thought Saenchai would win on decision, but Buakaw's size made all the difference. So yeah, so that's how the event played out. And it was a fun event overall, you know. And I got to meet some new people, new friends. Shout out to David Kavanaugh. Shout out to Daryl Young. And yeah, shout out to Mike Vetrilla and his crew, Vito. And once more, shout out to Ty Emery. And of course, also, thank you again, Nick Chapman, for moving Olympus and Tartarus to make this event happen. Because, man, you spent the past year, over a year in fact, to put all this together, and there will always be two sides debating about, you know, the event, and but ultimately you made it happen. That's what matters, and you shouldn't let the opinions of outsiders, you know, affect how you feel. As for me, just trying to be as impartial as possible. I feel like the event was a success from my point of view, and what I loved about it was the undercard fights, you know. And definitely my favorite fight of all time will always be Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tat Pin Yu. No one can change my mind about that. Eddie Alvarez versus Chad Mendez, Taylor Starling versus Teresa Sigala, Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight. Guys, step aside. We have a new kid on the block. Pongpisan Chunyong versus Tat Pin Yu. Try put on a better fight than that. So, yeah. But yeah, it was a very fun weekend, you know, getting to conduct interviews with all these fighters, whether they were foreigners, whether they were Thais, even Myanmar, Burmese. And yeah, it was so much fun, you know. It was nice to be out in the field after a long time, and it was a great experience, you know. you can never put a price tag on something like this, and I'll remember it for a very long time, probably even forever. And I loved every single moment of it. I loved every single second I spent in Pattaya, during the event, and I can only hope we can replicate an experience like this sometime in the near future. Now, yeah, but it was so much fun. I had so much fun, even if it meant going to bed past my usual bedtime by 3-4 hours, but hey, it was fun. It was worth it. And yeah, again, thanks Nick Chapman for putting all of this together, for fight fans, for lots of people to watch. And I think that's about it. I think that wraps it up for today's episode. Now, for those of you who made it this far, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And for those of you who made it all the way to the end, I wish you all a good morning, good afternoon, good evening,